It's John Bowden from Rock History Music, our special guest, the first of two interviews we did with Stan Lynch from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Speaker Wars is his brand new project. Man, this is a superb record. It's got that driving feel that we all got used to with the Heartbreakers. There's some folk in there, there's a little country, but it's good driving music. Tap your toe music. We're going to talk about Speaker Wars and that new album, but first, Stan Lynch talks about hearing about Tom Petty's death. He was long gone from the band, as you'll hear. We've got a little bio coming up. But in 2017, that former Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers drummer was as surprised as all of us on hearing Tom Petty was no longer around. That and a lot more on Rock History Music. He was the backbeat behind one of America's most iconic rock bands, and then he walked away. Stan Lynch was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1955 and raised in Gainesville, Florida. He became the original drummer for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, helping them shape signature southern-tinged no-nonsense rock that defined the 70s and 80s. A founding member in 76, Lynch's crisp, punchy drumming helped propel the band through a string of hits and legendary albums. From their breakthrough self-titled debut in 1976 with songs like Breakdown and American Girl, to their even bigger third album Damn the Torpedoes in 79, featuring Refugee, Don't Do Me Like That, and Here Comes My Girl. Lynch laid down the rhythm that gave the Heartbreakers their power and drive. He was there through Hard Promises in 81, Long After Dark the following year, Southern Accents in 85, and Let Me Up I've Had Enough in 87. Anchoring tracks like You Got Lucky, The Waiting, and Jamming Me, with a feel that was equal parts muscle and heart. But behind the scenes, creative tensions were growing. By the early 90s, Lynch, long known for his fiery personality, began to drift apart from Petty and the band. After playing on Into the Great Wide Open in 91, Lynch began parting ways with the Heartbreakers. And by 94, he was out. His final appearance with the band was with their induction of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, something to be very proud of in 2002. But rather than fade away, Stan Lynch launched a prolific second act, something that's very rare in rock and roll. He became an in-demand producer, songwriter, and session drummer, often working behind the scenes with some of the biggest names of the era. Most notably, he became a trusted collaborator with Don Henley of the Eagles, co-writing and playing on songs like The Heart of the Matter, Last Worthless Evening, and New York Minute. From Henley's biggest album in '89, The End of the Innocents. Lynch also worked with the Eagles, Bob Dylan, Jackson Browne, the Mavericks, Eddie Money, and Toto, among others, often bringing his deep musical instincts and sharp pop rock sensibilities into the studio. He even co-wrote tracks for Tim McGraw and Joan Osborne, proving his range beyond classic rock. Though no longer a heartbreaker, Tom Petty passed away October 2nd, 2017. Lynch's imprint remains. His drumming on those early records continues to influence generations, and his songwriting legacy is quietly woven into the fabric of modern American rock. Stan Lynch, a drummer who knew how to hit hard and when to walk away. When Tom passed away, I know in one interview you said, I think I was on a tractor or something, and because you're not really a techie guy on that higher level of just, you're always on your phone because you don't even text, right?
No, I carry a flip phone. It's like I'm that guy, It was funny. I don't text, but I could see that my flip phone had 1,000 texts, in it. And I'm like, it doesn't tell you who they're from. And I figured out how to look at them. And the first one I saw was, is it true? And I went like, this is all coming out of nowhere for me. And then it was, and then I think I saw Benmont's name come up on my phone. And Ben was, hey, you sitting down, and that's, Ben and I always, we had a closeness throughout the whole thing. And even after my tenure, Ben and I stayed very close as pals. And so he walked me through what was happening. And I couldn't process it. I mean, I live out in the country. I went and turned on the TV and every channel was broadcasting that, like it all came rushing back because I had really been out of that life. I wasn't in the band, so it was a part of my past. But man, I sat there and watched TV the night, and I'm watching old film clips, and they're talking, and it's still it's still a bad dream. Really, it is. It's a bad dream to me. And I'm so grateful that I got my time with him, and I'm grateful that I got to do the Hall of Fame and see him and tell him I loved him and tell him he's great. Thanked him for the music. Um, I'm pissed that I didn't get that two fingers of single malt where we could sit down and put our arms around each other and say, that was pretty cool, brother. You know what I mean? I'm pissed I never got that, but that's just selfish. So I dream about it. I have conversations with him in my dreams all the time where we're talking and kidding and laughing, and it's hard for me to watch old footage where we were young and so good to each other. It's hard. It's hard for me, but yeah, I mean, to say I loved or love Tom and Howie that doesn't even get to it. They're part of me, man. They're part of me, and they always will be. And I can't even hear, I can't walk into a grocery store and not hear those guys. You know what I mean? So I have to stop and look up and go, man, thanks, dudes. Thanks. You know,
This was done during COVID.
Pretty much. I mean, like everybody, when COVID hit, we were all setting fire to our laundry and burning our clothes, and we were all, rightfully so. We were all scared out of our brains, and so I just took it upon myself about 3 months into it. I went, I'm going to become my own engineer. I'd always relied on other people in the studio, a lot of other people, and I just went, I've got to become a one man show technically. And then John came down to Florida. He would come down here and work with me, and we just started writing. We figured, well, man, what are we going to do? We'll just write songs. And so we wrote a bunch of songs, and he was the one who said, look, I got these guys in Texas. They're great. He introduced me to Mike Pasterzy, who signed on as our exec, and he's the one who did the sequence. Because man, after 3 years, we have a lot of songs still.
Say you have another record even ready to rock, and you think it's even better?
I think yeah, I think we've got really good material already on the glide path. You know what I mean? It's got finishing is always a little tricky, but I think that the germs are all there, the seeds are all there, and the band is better than I expected. When we got together and started playing together, that's where a lot of things coalesced and became even better to me. I went, wow, man, this is going to be fun. Go in and let's record with these guys rather than having to add them, sort of.
Yeah.
We had to do things a little more piecemeal during COVID. Now we can really open up the floodgates and like all get in a room and rumble. And that's when it gets interesting to me.
That you play with your friends. The hang's important. People forget that.
It's critical. It's critical. It was always the common thread when you put guys, even as a kid. I mean, I was a fairly social kid. You get in a sandbox. It'd be like, hey, do you like Tonka toys? I like Tonka toys. You want to build a fort? I want to build a fort. So it's like it's just the logical extension of all of that joy and all of that crazy goofiness that, I mean, we're just passing through, man. It's why not do what it is that brings you actual joy? And I've been so lucky that I rarely had to do anything to put food on the table that wasn't pretty funny, pretty fun to do. And even with the old band, with the old Heartbreakers guys, those guys were my pals, man. We got together. They were my big brothers. It was great. And so it's just, and every step of the way, I've been really fortunate to have met cats that, hey man, you want to hang? And then as a result of the hang, you go like, hey, you got anything on your mind? Like, what are you working on? Or, it's been really good.
It Ain't Easy is one of the songs that great driving tune. Uh, about maturing. Freaking aging. You can look at it any way you want. We're gonna age. We're gonna
Oh yeah.
die. We're gonna do
Dude,
our stuff, but what are you gonna do on the way? You gonna
well, what with Mick Jagger, what else can a poor boy do but sing for a rock and roll band? It's like, I mean, look, this is all I've ever done since I was 14 or 15, literally. I've never had to have a job. I mean, I dropped out of school basically, and I never went to college. This is my life. And if anybody's crazy enough to ask me, why are you doing this? I'd be like, I don't know. Why do people still play chess? Why do people do anything they find enjoyable or they're passionate about? This is what I got. And it passes for my social life. All the people that I've ever worked with over the years have always been my friends. Um, I, it's a really cool way to live. You're either an artist or a criminal. Which one are you?
you've mentioned luck in interviews before of going, sometimes if you do the work, you just get in the right room, but also it's instinct. But then again, someone recently just told me that Kenny Wayne Shepherd said, "Well, that's not luck. You kind of build it." And how do you look at luck?
Well, I use maybe a slightly different term. Luck implies to me like winning the lottery. Luck. Like that's luck. Like I don't know. I've been very fortunate. I tend to use that term a little more like I've been really fortunate that things have come my way and I've been allowed to be included in I get to hang out with people that are better than me a lot of the time. And that's really fantastic. Along the way, you go like, that guy's better at this job than me. But if I keep my mouth shut and kind of endear myself to him, maybe they'll let me audit their master class. And that's been every with the producers, with the musicians, the songwriters, hell, even my personal life, you meet people that are just they're a little more evolved than you, and you go, "Ooh, I see something exciting in learning that." And a smart man should never resent a guy with a good idea. Like you should never be threatened by someone who's smarter than you. You should just go like, "Hey, man, can you teach me, or can I just watch?" And some people are very protective about their intellect. They'll be like, "Nah, man, it's not a spectator sport." And other guys will go, "Man, come on in. You can audit this with me. You can watch and see it." And I've been really fortunate that my mentors have said they've opened the door and said, "Step in, good luck, see what you got." The best collaborations to me are when I get to say to my collaborator, "That's really good. I'm not going to do anything to mess that up." And that's a good collaborator to me will go, "Hey, Lynch, that's a good idea. Why don't you you're holding two aces right there. Let's play into that hand." Like, I don't need to just put something in there just because it's me. Like, I mean, I've had some great collaborators and I've done the same thing. I go, "Man, why don't I just bless that mess right now and just go, man, run with that, run with that. Maybe if I got something I can add, but let me just listen. You got a hot hand." And that's what maturity, that's what, being around for a while teaches you too. You, you know, you don't have to keep injecting yourself. You can just be part of the process if you're lucky. That's lucky. Okay.
The Forgiveness Tree. That's one of those songs that to hold on to something, just get off the freaking train.
Yeah, you burn yourself down with your own anger. You can really, and all your what ifs and your regrets and all that, you can just burn yourself down. And maintain that you can't teach a guy anything, but he can learn. And it's like, that's my story, is like, you can't teach me crap, but I'll eventually figure it out just by hitting myself in the head. I'll go, "Oh, that doesn't work." So, but yeah, I love the forgiveness tree was fun. That was John. John walked in with that as a concept. He said, "Look, I have this idea about a place, a metaphoric place." And it just happened to play into the day I was probably thinking about maybe my old band and thinking about relationships and so we were absolutely serve and volley, almost line for line on that. It was fun. And he's a soulful guy. I look forward to people meeting this guy. John Christopher Davis is he's a soulful Texan. He's he grew up hard, scrapping. He like me. He sort of had a feral childhood. You know what I mean? He was pretty. It was pretty rough. So we have that in common. We ain't afraid.
How far
It's
back do
like
you guys go?
we met in Nashville on a blind date. We were both with different publishers, and we were both staff writers in Nashville. And he just walked into my room probably, God, man, it's been a minute, you know, over 10 years, you know. And he walked in just cold, and I thought, okay, great, whatever. And he was going to make a solo record, and I fell in love with the guy. Just I didn't even care if we wrote a song. I was like, man, you want to hang? And he felt the same way. And um, I just thought that he had something. There was a little extra chromosome of soul in that guy that I recognized. And I think it's a Southern thing, maybe for me. It was like I was comfortable with his accent. I was comfortable with his choice of foods and mode of travel. You know what I mean? He wasn't hoity-toity, he wasn't fussy. And we didn't have to overcome any of that posturing stuff. So that was where we just bonded as dudes. And I'm a little older than him, so I got to be the big brother for a change.
I hear a little Merle in him. I hear the phrasing. There's just something. I just hear it. I hear Don Henley in him, which I know the connection, but I just hear a lot of there's a deepness in there. He's 1,000 years old. That guy.
He's tortured, man. He's got some, but he's one of these guys that, man, you know, man, he got married early, sticks with it, raised a good kid. I mean, he's just one of these like, man, when he bites down on something, he don't let up. I mean, he's honest. He don't lie. He can't lie. It's like if he tries, it's funny. Like you go like John. So and he's just we got the same touch tones musically. Like we both like certain, we both grew up listening to the radio, not even to a kind of music. I mean, we can both almost cry at the drop of a hat, and we bring our own damn hats. You know what I mean? So we can like look at each other and go, man, that's got some gospel bones to it that we both like, or that's got some old Bob Seger bones that we like, or we both just kind of like our antenna goes up at the same time, and we go, oh, wait a minute, did you mean to do that? And he goes, oh. So I want to have a run with John. I really do. I want the world to know this cat and plus he sings his ass off. He really does. You put him in front of a microphone, and he doesn't need a beer. He doesn't need, a joint. He doesn't need any of the jive. He just, let me sing. He's cool.
By the way, I don't know if you know Clem Burke, but he passed away. I didn't know he had cancer.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Clem,
Hard drummer. Bah!
oh, Clem is a badass. I think we opened for Blondie at CBGB's in 76, and Clem Burke that's the guy you watched. I mean, what an amazing rock and roll drummer, and metronomic yet powerful. I mean, he was the whole package, sound, parts. Boy, that's devastating loss. That's really that hurts, man. That's awful. I'm really sorry. I met him a couple of times over the year, and I loved him. Tough, kind of like a New York tough guy. But boy, what an amazing musician.
What was it about Charlie?
He was one of those guys. For me, he's my Philly Joe Jones. He's he's where I come in. You always imprint on somebody, but that's the epitome of cool. That was like when you're a kid and you see Charlie Watts, you go, oh, well, maybe one day I'll have one day where they misinterpret me as being that cool. He just was, and brilliant drummer. I mean, my God, those grooves, they're going to be around for another 1,000 years. Nobody's going to touch that. You can't get near it.
Remember, if you want to help the channel, you can make a PayPal donation. There's a link right in the description. Join our Patreon. You'll get early access to hundreds of clips that have not been on YouTube yet. We're very generous when it comes to Patreon. It's like one of the greatest deals on Patreon. You'll get so much clips that we haven't even released yet, but you get early access. You can see them right now for $6 and change. The link is in the description. And go to our swag store. People will think you're part of our staff. You can get a Rock History Music cap, jacket, t-shirt, tank top, a lot of different clothing. Again, the links are in the description. Comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, click that bell notification, like them and share them on social media. I'm John Bowden. There's some more from Stan Lynch coming up in the next few days on Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.